The committee will come to order, and the chair has determined that there is a quorum present. I want to welcome all returning and new members of the committee to our full committee organizational meeting for the 116th Congress. We meet today to introduce new members of the committee on both sides of the aisle, adopt our committee rules of procedure for the 116th Congress, and to ratify our subcommittee chairs, ranking members, and subcommittee assignments. I feel a great sense of personal and professional satisfaction to assume the historic role of serving as chairman of what I continue and will always believe to be the most important committee in the entire Congress. Established in 1789, the Ways and Means Committee is rooted in our nation as the oldest standing congressional committee. In fact, this marks the 230th anniversary of the committee's establishment at Federal Hall in New York City. I remind myself that I am a successor today to Thomas Fitzsimmons of Philadelphia, who was the first chairman of the Ways and Means Committee. 8 U.S. presidents have served on this committee, including Mr. Madison, Andrew Jackson, James Knox Polk, Millard Fillmore, James Garfield, William McKinley, and George H.W. Bush. In addition, 8 members of the committee have gone on to become vice presidents, 22 members have become Speaker of the House, and 4 have joined the Supreme Court as justices. Much of the jurisdiction of the Ways and Means Committee comes directly from our Constitution. Article 1, Section 7 states, quote, "All bills for raising revenues shall originate in the House of Representatives." No other committee can say that. Going into our 230th year, I look forward to identifying ways to build on the history as we promote policies that will put our nation on a sustainable path forward. From taxes to Social Security and retirement security, to trade, health care, and social services, these issues have a significant impact on the lives of all Americans. And I hope we will use this opportunity to work hard to improve the lives of middle-class families in this country. It's also important, I think, that we maintain the regular order. The Ways and Means Committee will engage in meaningful debate and inquiry on every issue that comes before us. That includes hearings and meetings with experts of differing perspectives. And then we will mark up legislation and move it through the committee. I hope that a lot of this work will be done on a bipartisan basis. For any legislation before this committee, I guarantee you I will do my best to find common ground. And my hope is that we will have a number of bipartisan achievements. In terms of my priorities as chairman, I plan to focus on strengthening retirement security, lowering health care costs, including prescription drug prices, and noting the role that pre-existing condition plays in the insurance system of America, and also ensuring that the tax system benefits the middle-class Americans and small businesses. We will closely examine the Republican tax law and the many challenges it presented. We'll also be conducting thorough oversight of the law, oversight that I think is overdue. Another issue requiring our attention is America's infrastructure. We must ensure that our infrastructure systems are both safe and efficient. It's essential for global competitiveness. Again, I hope that we can do much of this work on a bipartisan basis. I continue to believe that the relationship I had with former Chairman and now Ranking Member Brady was a good, sound one, and we tried where we could to work collaboratively. Before handing it over to the Ranking Member, I'd like to welcome the new members of our committee on both Democratic and Republican sides. I look forward to working with each of you. And on the Democratic side, our new members include Gwen Moore from Wisconsin, Dan Kildee from Michigan, Brendan Boyle from Pennsylvania, Don Beyer from Virginia, Dwight Evans from Pennsylvania, Brad Schneider from Illinois, Tom Suozzi from New York, Jimmy Panetta from California, Stephanie Murphy from Florida, Jimmy Gomez from California, and Stephen Horsford from Nevada. With that, I want to recognize the Ranking Member, Mr. Brady, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for convening the committee to adopt these rules for the Ways and Means Committee for the 116th Congress. I also want to congratulate my friend, Mr. Neal, on becoming chairman of the House's senior committee. Richie and I have served on Ways and Means together for years. I have a great deal of respect and a great deal of admiration for you. and I know what an honor it is to be able to preside over this storied committee. I look forward to continuing to serve alongside you again these next 2 years, and I wish you the best of luck as you hold the gavel this Congress. I'm proud to support these rules. The Committee on Ways and Means, as Chairman says, has a very rich history. With its responsibilities being directly derived from our Constitution, it is in this room where we debate some of the biggest issues facing our country, our workers, and our economy. And though our members don't always see eye to eye on everything, this committee has a deeply rooted tradition of bipartisanship. From fighting the opioid crisis to trade agreements, reforming our nation's welfare programs to cutting taxes for middle-class families. It is this committee that debates all the intricate, important details that make those policies work. Throughout the 115th Congress, the vast majority of bills our committee passed were bipartisan, including important legislation like the STOP Act, a law that will make our communities safer by stopping the flow of fentanyl through the international mail system. We were also able to have signed into law temporary tariff relief for our manufacturers on over 7,000 products that are not available in the United States, cutting their taxes so they can continue to grow jobs here at home. We took the first major step in over 20 years to redesign the IRS, to make it an agency with a single purpose, quality taxpayer service. We worked together to make a number of needed improvements to Medicare. We focused on how we can best support our most fragile seniors while also helping expand access for rural patients and healthcare providers in their important programs. We advanced measures to improve Social Security privacy, such as fighting against synthetic ID fraud for children who fall victim to identity theft. We also worked to promote fairness for tribal communities when it comes to Social Security. We took action to transform our nation's foster care system, together helping our most vulnerable kids find good and loving and lasting homes. We know that when we work together, we can pass laws that make a real and immediate impact for our families and our local businesses. Ways and Means is not a place for politics, it's a place where we do work. And I'm hopeful we'll have the opportunity to work together as Republicans and Democrats to continue putting forth policies that empower workers and families across our country. With unemployment at 3.9%, wages rising at their fastest pace in a decade, and nearly 7 million job openings, we have an opportunity to work together to keep growing our economy. I look forward to working closely with Chairman Neal and our new members, and I too would like to welcome our new Republican members of the committee, Jody Arrington of Texas, Drew Ferguson of Georgia, and Ron Estes of Kansas. And I want to welcome our new Democrat members and our returning committee colleagues as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. Now, pursuant to Clause 2A of House Rule 11, our first order of business is the adoption of the committee's rules of procedure for the 116th Congress. A copy of the proposed rules has been distributed to each of you in advance. Let me briefly summarize the small changes on rules from the last Congress. First, the ratios of the subcommittees have remained nearly the same from the last Congress, with the exception of one additional slot for the majority and the minority on the Trade Subcommittee. Second, while jurisdiction remains the same from the 115th Congress, we have changed the names of two subcommittees. Tax Policy is now the Subcommittee on Select Revenue Measures, and Human Resources is now the Subcommittee on Worker and Family Support. Finally, we have added a new section in the rules regarding the designation of the select panel of the committee to inquire into and take testimony on matters of special national interest. This section does not create any particular panel at this time. It merely clarifies that it is within the power of the chair to do so and specifies that any such panel would be subject to all committee rules and would not have any legislative jurisdiction. I now yield to the distinguished ranking member, Mr. Brady, for any remarks he might have about the rules.
Mr. Chairman, we support the rules.
Thank you. Does any member wish to be recognized to discuss the rules of procedure? Are there any amendments to these committee rules? If not, I move that the proposed rules be adopted as rules of the Committee on Ways and Means for the 116th Congress. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it, and the proposed rules are adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table. Pursuant to House rules, the rules adopted by the Committee on Ways and Means for the 116th Congress will be published in the Congressional Record and made available to members and the public on the committee's website.
Mr. Chairman, did the sun just come out after you passed those rules?
I think it's because I was about to ask that we all acknowledge the birthday of Mr. Thompson. That's what did it. Now we will proceed to approve our subcommittee chairs and ranking members. Members have in front of them rosters of the full committee members as well as each subcommittee listing chairs and ranking members. The full committee vice chair will be Representative Terry Sewell, who was elected by the Democratic Committee Caucus. The chairs of our subcommittees are following: the Subcommittee on Health, Mr. Doggett of Texas; the Subcommittee on Worker and Family Support, Mr. Davis of Illinois; the Subcommittee on Oversight, Mr. Lewis of Georgia; the Subcommittee on Select Revenues, Mr. Thompson of California; the Subcommittee on Social Security, Mr. Larson of Connecticut; and the Subcommittee on Trade, Mr. Blumenauer of Oregon. I now yield to the distinguished ranking member, Mr. Brady, to introduce the subcommittee ranking members.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The ranking member on Health will be Mr. Nunes of California. The ranking member on Trade will be Mr. Buchanan of Florida. The ranking member on Select Revenue Measures will be Mr. Smith of Nebraska. The ranking member on the Subcommittee on Worker and Family Support is Ms. Walorski of Indiana. And the ranking member on the Subcommittee on Oversight is Mr. Kelly of Pennsylvania. And the ranking member on the Subcommittee on Social Security is Tom Reed of New York.
Thank you, Mr. Brady. I move that the list of subcommittee chairs and ranking members and vice chair as set forth in the rosters be approved. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it, and the chairs and ranking members are appointed. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. We will now approve subcommittee assignments. A copy of the subcommittee rosters have been made available. I move that the subcommittee assignments as set forth in the roster be approved. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. The ayes have it, and the subcommittee rosters are approved. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid upon the table. That concludes our business meeting for today, and without objection, the committee stands adjourned. Timing's pretty good between the sun and now the buzzers going off, right? Huh?